that is the first row of garlic in, and there's going to be plenty more going into this patch today. Now, for most of us, the middle of October is the best time to be planting garlic. And the reason is that it will start to immediately grow roots. It'll grow a nice root system and also a tiny green shoot that will poke up out of the soil in a month or two. And then the plants will overwinter like that. They're very, very hardy. You don't have to worry too much about snow or freezing temperatures. And then next spring, those plants will shoot up and be well ahead of any garlic that you plant in the spring. I'm Tanya from Lovely Greens, and I'm going to share with you my organic garlic growing tips today. First things first, choosing garlic. Now there are lots and lots of varieties out there depending on your region, but there are two main types, and they are soft neck and hard neck. Now let's talk about soft neck first. It obviously has a soft neck, so this is the type that you would braid into garlic plaits, like I did in my last video, if you want to check that out. The bulbs are a lot larger, the cloves are a lot larger, but these are the types that grow in more temperate to warmer regions. And you also have another variety. So if you're in a cold climate or quite far in the north, hard necks might be the type for you. Now they do require a little bit more in the way of aftercare next year in the summer, but they are said to have superior flavor and they will last a cold winter without too much harm. Now, if you're growing garlic for the very first time this year, you should really invest in a named variety from a trusted seed supplier or gardening center. And then once you have that garlic, you can grow it on the first year. And like I've done with this Printenor garlic, save some and then replant it for the following year. Now, if you do that, you have invested basically in a lifetime of garlic because you can continuously replant your harvests. When you're busting up one of these heads of garlic for the cloves, you want to look for really big, chunky cloves like this to plant again. If you plant some of the little tiny ones, like something that size, that will result in plants that are really small and they won't produce really big heads of garlic next year. So save those for cooking, and these really big chunky ones, put those back in the ground again. I was in the supermarket the other day and I spotted this massive head of garlic, and it didn't have a name, so I don't know the variety, and it said that its origin was various. So essentially it is a massive question mark. And that is the main reason that we're not encouraged to grow garlic from the supermarket. We just don't know what it is. And we also don't know if it's actually sprayed with anything to stop it from, say, sprouting or goodness knows what else. But I'm one that always likes to challenge these types of ideas. And so my experiment this year is going to be trying to grow this garlic and just see how it does. Because I know that sometimes people are not able to access garlic from, say, a reputable retailer, and so knowing whether or not I am able to grow this garlic will give me actually a little bit more information and personal experience as to whether or not this can be done and whether it's a good idea. So stay tuned for what I think about this experiment next year. I'm planting my garlic about a foot apart, so each of the cloves goes in individually, and they're planted just deep enough so that you can see the little tops of the pointy ends sticking up out of the ground. You don't want them to be any deeper than that. Now, I've seen sources saying that you can plant your garlic a lot closer, so even 4 inches, but keep in mind that the closer you plant them, the smaller your heads of garlic are going to be. And that is because the roots of garlic are touch sensitive. So if this garlic here starts growing and its roots start creeping out and encounter the next garlic down the row, it will stop growing. Garlic can actually reach a diameter of a foot, so the actual roots under the ground. So the more space you give each plant, the bigger your plant and potential harvest is going to be. I'm using this board as a guide And I'm just gonna flip it over and plant my next row of garlic. And then what I'm gonna do is use my onion hoe and just draw a little trench. So this is the soft neck that I'm still planting more of. And I'm just gonna search through and find some of the best cloves. That's a nice big one. So I will put this one down here, actually a little bit further on from the board. And I'm just gonna plant it in pointy end up, remove any rocks that are around it as well. And then I'm going to take the next clove and put it down here. So it's about a foot apart. And then I'm going to continue doing this down the row until I have the entire row filled. When you're planting the cloves, make sure you don't peel them. So keep that papery kind of covering on the cloves before you put them in the ground. Right. So I've got my cloves all in their row. I'm just going to cover them up just lightly. I've now buried the second row in the same way that I did the first. And you can see just the pointy ends of the garlic cloves are sticking up out of the ground. Now, as far as markers, I've just used some bamboo canes at the end just to tell me where the rows are, but it's best to actually label your rows as well, just so that you know what variety is where. I've just finished planting all 8 rows of the garlic. So I've got 4 rows of the soft neck, so that's Printanor, 2 rows of the mystery supermarket garlic, and that was a hard neck, and then 2 more rows of another hard neck called Eden Rose, which I grew last year as well. The next steps are basically letting them get on with what they want to do. The most important nutrient right now for them is phosphorus in the soil, and that promotes root growth. So they're going to be growing out their roots, sending up little small green shoots, and then hunkering down over winter. Now, next spring, it's important to start thinking about keeping them mulched with a nitrogen-rich compost or well-rotted manure or something else. That's because nitrogen promotes green growth and leaves. And also you want to keep the soil nice and moist and free of weeds because they don't like competing with weeds as well. Soft neck garlic is really easy to grow. There's very little that you have to do aside from weeding next year. And then in summertime, so June, July, when half of the leaves have started to turn yellow or brown, that's when you dig them up. And then after that point, you need to dry them out. And I tend to just leave them in the sun for a day and then whack them in a box, put them in the garage, and then just let them dry out that way. The hard neck, you do need to keep an eye on next year because what's going to happen is that they're going to send up what are called garlic scapes. And you might have seen them in a farmer's market or for sale elsewhere, or seen them on your garlic and wondering what they are. And they're essentially mini flower heads. And if you don't break them off and eat them, then what can happen is that the plants can weaken and the bulbs you'll get at the end of the summer will be much smaller than they should be. If you just are interested in seeing what happens with them though, they will form little bulbils, which are tiny little garlic cloves at the top, and those are edible as well. And then as far as harvesting, you harvest them the same way as you would the soft neck garlic, and you'll get quite a lot of garlic. It won't last as long, the hard neck, compared to the soft neck, but it will last definitely a few months. Soft neck up to a year. Garlic is actually a pretty easy vegetable to grow, but I know that people have had challenges with growing it in the past. So if you have any questions about this video, or you have a specific issue or challenge that you've come across in the past and you'd like to get an answer for, leave me a comment down below and I'll answer it to the best of my ability. I'll also pop a lot more information on growing organic garlic over on my website, and that's lovelygreens.com. And I'll put a link up on the screen so you can head over there and have a read just now, because the answer to your question might be over there already. Also, I'm really curious to know what varieties that you're growing this year, and also if you recommend any particular types for flavor or for how easy it is to grow. Let us know as a comment down below as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back next week with another video here on Lovely Greens. Bye for now.